The stories we tell about ourselves and others are far more powerful than we think. When you consider that what you think, your internal storytelling, helps create what you feel, which then influences how you behave, then the stories you tell yourself and others go a long way to creating your reality. Is the way you tell your stories to yourself and others helping you or harming you? In this video, I'll be exploring this issue. Are the stories you tell holding you down? Are they limiting your reality? And if yes, what can you do about it? My name's Dadley-Moore. I'm a family mediator and a conflict and communication coach. And thank you for watching this video. This channel is fast becoming a growing catalogue of sort of 10 to 15 minute videos to help you improve your communication and conflict know-how, to help you and your relationships level up and thrive. Every week I go to work and hear hundreds of stories, hundreds of conflict stories, and the vast majority follow a specific narrative structure. The storyteller is usually the victim, and they tell the story about another person, the perpetrator, who's behaved badly towards them. The storyteller normally presents themselves as rational, they're the good one, and they're powerless. And the other person's the unreasonable, the difficult, the mean, the all-powerful. And the person the storyteller's talking to, and that's me, is then invited to be the rescuer. Now, think of a current conflict that you're in, or even a recent conflict. How do you tell that story about yourself and about the conflict? Who are you in the story? Are you the victim? Are you the one that had something done to them? And who in the story is the doer, the persecutor? Because the way most of us present our conflict stories fits perfectly into the drama triangle, and placing ourselves in this triangle is problematic. It's easy to get into the triangle, it can be a lot harder to get out of it. Now, Stephen Cartman developed this triangle to represent the three roles we're all capable of playing when in drama or conflict arises. Okay, so the three roles are the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. Now, first up, the victim. The victim's often the helpless and hopeless one. They think they're at the mercy of what life's serving them up. They're powerless and unable, maybe better said unwilling, to take any responsibility for their situation. They blame the persecutor and really hope they're going to find a rescuer because they need a rescuer. They're hopeless and helpless. Now, the persecutor does behave in ways that lead to difficulty and suffering for others. They're critical and judgmental, that they often blame the victims, and they can also be critical of the rescuers. And the rescuer, well, the rescuer is going to jump in to save the victim, to try and fix their problem. And they often have very good intentions, the rescuer, but unfortunately the behaviour of all three of these roles perpetuates the drama and holds everyone in place in this triangle. The victim, what the victim does is they trade any power they have, as well as their responsibility, for sympathy. Sympathy from the rescuer, sympathy from anyone who'll hear it. Victims also use stories to defend and justify their behaviours. And the worse they can portray the perpetrator, and the greater the wrong that they can present in their story that's been done to them, then the greater the sympathy they can receive. And the victim therefore gets easily locked into and trapped into a heightened storytelling cycle that prevents them from making constructive decisions, solving problems, and taking any responsibility. Choosing to maintain the victim role will leave you unable to tell stories that are going to help you and heal you and help you move in a constructive direction forward. The more you tell the victim story, the more you get lost in it. Now, the persecutor is critical of others, but also, just like the victim, provides absolutely no assistance to the solution. And the rescuer, well, they're often blind to see that by helping the victim with short-term fixes, they actually keep the victim dependent on them. In fact, all three roles, again, promote a dependency on each other. Now, if your conflict story fits within this structure, and you're the victim in the story, then the way you've constructed this story is likely disempowering you, and it's going to limit your ability to heal and move on. The stories you tell are going to be holding you down in the very place you don't want to be. Now please, if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below. Okay, talking about stories that limit us, please download this free mini course on cognitive distortions. Now, cognitive distortions are unhelpful, unconscious thought patterns that we all experience, every single one of us. If you've got a mind, you've got distortions. I call them the mind monkeys. These monkeys, they're thought patterns that influence the way we create our stories. They like to trick us into believing things about ourselves, about others, and about the world around us that just aren't true. And they want us then to believe that these thoughts are actually facts. Now, the course introduces the 20 most usual monkeys, including catastrophizing, minimizing, personalizing, comparing, and the mind-reading monkey. Now, there's 20 of them. Watch it, get to know which monkeys like to play with you, and raise your awareness to how these monkeys influence your storytelling, and then learn how to lessen their power in your life. Okay, one way out of the drama triangle is to understand and accept the truth that we are all three of these roles. You are all three. The person you're in conflict with, the one that you're positioning as the persecutor, is also all three. You need to acknowledge that you're part victim, yes, you're part victim, but also part persecutor and part rescuer. And then you need to take responsibility for all three within yourself. You need to really reclaim all these stories to empower yourself to create positive change and transform your conflict and its narrative into a constructive, healthy movement forward. Your conflict stories need to be 3 stories in one: the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. Self-awareness is the key here. The finger has to point this way. And look, to be clear, I'm not saying that you have to be the solo rescuer for yourself. You'll often need help to be involved in your own rescue. We all need help at times on this wild human journey. It's just really important not to enlist others to help and then completely hand over the problem to them for them to solve for you. And it's important also to set boundaries for anyone who comes into your life who wishes, even with the best intentions, to take the rescuer role off you and to try and do it all themselves. Another area to focus on when constructing your stories are your beliefs. As I introduced in the video on letting go, the biggest barrier to anything in life is the belief that it isn't possible. To get out of the victim narrative, you have to really believe that this is possible. Now, you've probably heard of the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That was Henry Ford. Well, if you're happy with this concept, then it's just a small stretch sideways to the following understandings. Whether you think you're a powerless victim, or you think that it's possible you can play a part of the solution, well, you're right. Whether you think you're stuck, or you think you're free to create change, well, you're right. So from now on, as you journey through the weeks, start to observe yourself and be hyper aware of the stories you tell. The stories you tell yourself, your internal thoughts, and the stories you tell others. And then be honest with yourself. Is the way you're telling this story helping you or harming you? Have you constructed this story to empower yourself, or are you positioning yourself as the victim and trading your power for sympathy and support? Are you telling all 3 of these stories, or are you only telling one? Are your beliefs limiting you, or are they supporting you to grow and evolve and become a better human being? The stories we tell, the stories you tell, are very, very powerful. Our stories create our reality. Please leave any comments and questions below. And always please like the video if you believe that watching it has been a good use of your time, a worthy use of your time. Also share it out to those that you love. Keep this community growing. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great week. Stay warm, stay well, and be kind to yourself out there.